The spaceship shuddered as it pierced the thin atmosphere of the distant planet. Outside the thick glass dome of the cockpit, the sky shimmered in colors Eli had never seen before, soft purples and blues mixed with streaks of silver, as though the entire horizon were painted with light. The land below was a strange, uneven surface of rock and moss, dotted with trees that glowed faintly as if each leaf held a tiny star. Eli pressed his hand against the glass and took a deep breath, feeling a mixture of excitement and caution. He had led many explorations before, but something about this planet felt different, alive in a way that reached out and touched his senses. "Prepare for landing," he said, his voice calm, though his heart raced. His team of 4 humans moved efficiently around the cabin, checking instruments, securing equipment, and double-checking readings. They were experienced, but even they couldn't hide the awe that made their eyes widen as they looked at the landscape rushing closer. The planet had no name yet. It was simply cataloged as a potential research site for the United Earth Exploration Alliance. Eli hoped that this mission would be remembered not just for scientific discovery, but for something more profound. A first contact that would change how humans understood life beyond their home world. The landing gear touched the surface with a soft rumble, and the team felt the subtle vibrations under their feet as the ship settled. Outside, the air shimmered in a haze, colored by the strange sun that hung low in the sky. It was not harsh like the sun of Earth, nor was it dim. It had a gentle warmth, almost welcoming, and Eli felt a sudden calm settle over him. He activated the external cameras and scanned the surrounding area. There was nothing moving, not even a bird or an insect, and yet the planet hummed. The vibration was low, barely perceptible, but it was there, in the ground, in the air, in the very bones of the rocks beneath their feet. The team stepped outside. Their suits were lightweight but protective, and each carried a small backpack filled with sensors, portable analysis devices, and communication tools. Eli moved first, his boots pressing softly into the moss that felt almost like velvet underfoot. The glowing trees swayed gently, though there was no wind. A soft light pulsed from them in a rhythm that felt almost like a heartbeat. Eli's curiosity grew with each step. This was unlike anything humanity had encountered before. It was beautiful, yes, but there was a sense of intelligence here, something that seemed to watch them without being seen. As they moved deeper into the forest, the hum grew slightly louder. The trees' lights became brighter, casting reflections on the team's visors. Eli held up a small scanner, watching the readings dance across the screen. "Life forms detected," he said quietly, almost in disbelief. "Not big, not like animals we know. Something different. Something intelligent, maybe." The team froze as a sudden movement caught their eyes. From behind one of the glowing trees, a figure stepped out. At first, it was only a shadow, but then the light revealed her, tall, slender, and unlike anything they had ever seen. Her skin shimmered silver blue, almost like liquid metal under the soft sunlight. Her eyes glowed faintly, reflecting the colors of the forest. She moved with a grace that was both cautious and confident, her hand slightly raised as if to show she meant no harm. Eli's heart skipped. He had seen depictions of alien life in simulations and in stories, but seeing one in reality was different. He knew the first impression mattered. He smiled, carefully, softly, in the most human way possible. It was a simple gesture, but full of warmth and curiosity. It was meant to show that he was not a threat. The alien girl froze. Her wide eyes locked onto Eli's smile, and for a moment, nothing happened. The hum of the forest seemed to hold its breath. The team whispered amongst themselves, unsure of what to do. One of them, a biologist named Mara, whispered, She's looking at you. What do we do?" Eli shook his head slightly, keeping his smile. and gestured slowly for the others to stay calm. Lyra, that was what Eli decided to call her in his mind for now, stepped forward, her movements hesitant. The glowing patterns on her skin shifted as if she were speaking a language he couldn't yet understand. The patterns pulsed, soft at first, then brighter, faster, as if she were excited and afraid at the same time. Eli kept smiling, slowly extending his hand in a gesture of peace. He wanted her to know that humans could be kind, that they came in curiosity, not aggression. Time seemed to stretch. Lyra's gaze flicked to the other humans. Some of them were tense, their hands hovering near tools or scanners, unsure whether to trust her. Eli's smile never wavered. Slowly, she lowered her hands, mirroring his calmness, though cautiously. The patterns on her skin shifted again. Slower this time, as if she were considering something. Finally, she took a small, careful step forward. Her foot barely made a sound on the moss-covered ground, and yet it felt monumental. It was the first real sign of trust between species separated by light years of difference. Eli spoke softly, though he doubted she could understand. "We mean no harm. We are explorers, friends." The words were simple, but they carried an honesty that he hoped transcended language. Lyra tilted her head, as if considering his words, and the soft glow from her skin dimmed slightly, a sign of relaxation. Mara finally stepped forward, holding a small device that emitted soft lights and sounds. "I'm a biologist," she said. "We want to learn, not to hurt. See?" The alien girl watched intently, her body shifting slightly, absorbing every detail. She took another step, closer, now fully visible to all the humans. Her long, delicate fingers reached out, almost touching the device, but she stopped short. It was a dance of caution and curiosity, and the team held their collective breath. The forest itself seemed to watch. Leaves glowed brighter, a low vibration ran through the ground, and even the air felt thicker, charged with anticipation. Eli took a deep breath and slowly knelt, making himself appear smaller, less threatening. "My name is Eli," he said. "What's your name?" He had no expectation that she could respond, but the words felt important, a bridge being built in silence. Lyra's glow shifted, forming a pattern of circles and lines that pulsed gently. Eli studied the display on his scanner, realizing that her skin emitted patterns that were a form of communication, something like writing, but alive, moving, and colorful. He nodded, understanding that this was her way of speaking. "I think I can try to understand you," he whispered. He wanted her to feel that humans could adapt, learn, and respect differences. For hours, they communicated in gestures and glowing signals. Eli offered small objects, showing how they worked, how they moved. Lyra responded, touching them lightly with her delicate fingers, examining without fear. The sun began to set, casting long shadows through the glowing forest, yet neither side felt urgency. They were creating something new, fragile, yet full of promise. The first steps toward friendship had been made, but even in this moment of wonder, there was a sense of caution. Eli noticed subtle movements in the shadows, shapes that didn't belong to Lyra. He could feel eyes watching them, hidden in the alien flora. He didn't speak aloud, not wanting to break the fragile trust, but his mind raced. The planet was alive in more ways than one, and this life was not all visible. It could be dangerous, but Eli knew fear could not drive their actions. Curiosity and courage must guide them. Night fell, and the glowing trees lit the forest with a soft, ethereal light. Eli motioned for the team to set up a temporary camp. They built a small, unobtrusive shelter, careful not to disturb Lyra or the environment. She observed the humans, intrigued by the tools and movements, but did not approach too closely. The mutual understanding was unspoken but clear. Respect was key, and boundaries were important. Around a small flame, they shared a quiet moment. Eli sat near the edge of the circle, still smiling gently, and watched Lyra mimic his posture, her glowing skin dimming in imitation. It was a moment of connection that neither human nor alien would forget. Mara whispered, "She's amazing. I've never seen anything like her." Eli nodded, keeping his focus on Lyra. It wasn't just about seeing, it was about understanding. That was the essence of exploration, and they were beginning to grasp it. As the night deepened, the hum in the forest grew louder, a reminder that this planet had secrets yet to reveal. Eli felt a mixture of excitement and caution. The first contact had succeeded, but he knew the real challenges were ahead. Trust was fragile, and understanding a completely different species would take patience, courage, and empathy. Yet, he felt hope. For the first time, he truly believed that humans and aliens could meet not as enemies, but as allies, as explorers together in a universe full of wonders. Lyra finally moved closer, settling on a patch of moss near the camp. She did not speak, but her glow formed slow, steady pulses, a rhythm that matched Eli's heartbeat. It was a silent promise. No harm. Curiosity only. And in that moment, Eli realized that sometimes the smallest gestures, the simplest smile, could bridge the widest gaps, even between stars. As they prepared to rest for the night, Eli looked at her one last time. The alien girl had stepped forward, hesitated, and then chose trust over fear. It was a small step, but monumental. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, but tonight they had found a connection that could change everything. The forest pulsed softly in reply, a lullaby of light and sound that cradled the humans and the alien alike. The first night on the strange planet passed with wonder and calm, and Eli allowed himself a quiet thought. Maybe this was the start of something extraordinary, a story that humans and aliens could write together, one step, one smile at a time. The next morning, Eli woke before the rest of the team, stepping quietly outside the temporary camp. The soft glow of the alien forest painted the world in pastel colors, and the air was crisp, carrying a faint hum that seemed almost musical. Eli took a deep breath, trying to memorize every detail of the planet before the day's work began. Lyra was nearby, sitting on a small mound of moss, her silver-blue skin reflecting the morning light. She tilted her head as Eli approached, her glowing eyes fixed on him. For a moment, they simply looked at each other, two species separated by countless miles and differences, yet connected in a way that transcended words. Eli smiled again, the same gentle, genuine smile that had allowed her to trust him the day before. Lyra's glow pulsed slightly in response, like a heartbeat syncing with his own. The silence between them was comfortable, not awkward. It was as if the planet itself had paused to allow this moment, a quiet acknowledgement of the fragile friendship that was forming. Eli reached into his backpack and pulled out a small, smooth stone painted with bright colors. He held it out to Lyra, who leaned forward cautiously, her delicate fingers brushing against it. She examined it with curiosity, tilting it and turning it in her hands, then finally pressed it lightly to her chest. The glow of her skin shifted, forming a pattern that Eli could only interpret as gratitude. It was a small act, but in it lay a bridge of trust between them. The rest of the team began to stir, and soon Mara, the biologist, joined Eli and Lyra. She knelt beside them, holding a small device that emitted soft, colorful lights. "We're going to try communicating again," she said, though she directed her words mostly to Eli. "I think she's ready to understand more." Lyra watched closely, her glowing patterns shifting, slower now, indicating a cautious interest rather than fear. Eli nodded and gestured for the others to stay calm. They moved slowly, aware that any sudden motion might scare her away. Hours passed as they experimented with communication. Eli would point to objects, then make gestures to explain their function. Lyra responded in kind, touching, moving, and glowing in patterns that gradually began to make sense. It was slow, painstaking work, but there was a sense of excitement in the team. They were not just learning about Lyra, they were learning about a new way of perceiving the world. The patterns of light were expressive, full of emotion and meaning, and Eli marveled at how different yet intelligent her methods were. It was as though she spoke not only with intention, but with art, weaving feelings into her very skin. By midday, they had formed a small rhythm of interaction. Lyra could understand simple gestures, and she began responding with recognizable signals. When Eli held up a tool and mimicked its function, she would glow in a pattern that meant comprehension. When Mara offered a sample of fruit from her pack, she would touch it, then tilt her head toward the humans in a gesture of acknowledgement. There was a profound sense of accomplishment in these small victories. It was proof that humans could reach beyond themselves, beyond fear and language, to form understanding with beings utterly unlike them. As the team worked, the subtle hum that had been a constant presence grew louder. Eli noticed it first, a low vibration beneath his feet that resonated through the ground. "Do you feel that?" he asked, looking around. Mara nodded, frowning. Lyra's glowing patterns shifted rapidly, forming jagged lines and swirls. Eli realized she was communicating something urgent, a warning perhaps, but the exact meaning was unclear. He gestured for everyone to stop and observe. The forest seemed to tense with them, the glowing trees flickering in response to the vibration. It was as though the planet itself was alerting them to something approaching. Suddenly, a shadow moved in the distance, barely visible through the glowing foliage. It was large, unlike anything they had seen on the planet. Eli felt a chill run through him, but he forced his expression to remain calm. Panic would only make the situation worse. Lyra's glow brightened dramatically, and she stepped closer to Eli, almost instinctively seeking his calm energy. He placed a hand near her shoulder, careful not to touch directly, and nodded. Her glow dimmed slightly in reassurance. They were a team now, human and alien, facing the unknown together. The shadow moved closer, and the hum in the air grew louder, almost like a chant. Eli raised a hand, signaling the team to stay silent. Whatever this was, it was not attacking yet. It was observing. Lyra's glowing patterns shifted rapidly, then settled into a steady rhythm. Eli interpreted it as a form of guidance. She knew the terrain, the creatures of the forest, and how to move without drawing attention. He motioned for the team to follow her lead. They moved carefully, matching her steps, blending into the soft light and shadow of the alien forest. Hours of careful maneuvering led them to a small clearing, where the predator's presence became clear. It was massive, taller than any human, with a body that seemed to ripple and shimmer in the light. Its eyes were like black voids absorbing the colors around it. The team froze, but Eli remained calm. He remembered Lyra's warning. The predator was drawn to fear. If they panicked, it would sense it, and they would be in immediate danger. He smiled softly at Lyra, and she returned the gesture with her glowing patterns, pulsing in steady, reassuring waves. The predator moved closer, its limbs stretching silently across the moss-covered ground. Eli's mind raced, but he focused on calm, precise movements. The key was patience and courage, not aggression. Lyra began to move forward, leading the humans through a series of hidden paths, using her knowledge of the forest to stay out of the predator's direct line of sight. Each step was a careful negotiation with the terrain, the glowing trees, and the unseen predator. Eli marveled at her intelligence and agility. Humans had always relied on tools and technology, but here the simplest acts of understanding and adaptation were saving their lives. It was a lesson in humility, and Eli felt it deep in his chest. The universe was vast, and life could thrive in ways humans could barely imagine. As they navigated the forest, Eli noticed subtle changes in the terrain, soft moss that would absorb sound, low-lying plants that could conceal movement, and clusters of glowing fungi that could be used to distract the predator. Lyra led them through these, teaching without words, her glow acting as both guide and signal. The humans began to understand, not just the actions, but the reasoning. It was a form of learning that went beyond science or language. It was intuition, perception, and trust combined. Mara whispered in awe, "This is incredible. She's teaching us in ways we've never imagined." Eli nodded, keeping his focus on the predator, which they could sense but not yet see directly. Fear could destroy them. Understanding would protect them. Eventually, they reached a narrow canyon, hidden from the predator's view. Lyra paused, her glowing patterns forming a complex sequence. Eli interpreted it as instructions. They would need to stay perfectly still, blend with the shadows, and let the predator pass. The team complied, hearts pounding, muscles tense. The predator entered the canyon, its massive form moving gracefully despite its size. It seemed to sense something, tilting its head as if aware of the humans and Lyra, yet it did not attack. Time stretched as they remained motionless, and then, with a final ripple through the air, the predator passed. Eli exhaled slowly, relief washing over him. Lyra's glow dimmed slightly, a sign of relaxation, and she stepped forward to guide them out of the canyon. By evening, they had reached a safer area of the forest. The danger had passed, but the experience left the team changed. They had faced fear, navigated the unknown, and survived not by strength, but by understanding, courage, and trust. Eli looked at Lyra and smiled. She mirrored it with her glowing patterns, a silent affirmation of the bond they had formed. Mara knelt beside Eli, placing a hand gently on his shoulder. "I've never seen humans and aliens connect like this before," she said softly. "It's beautiful." Eli nodded. "It's not about beauty," he said. "It's about respect, understanding, and courage. That's what makes humans remarkable, and it's what will allow us to connect with life beyond our world." Lyra stepped closer, observing him closely, her glow forming gentle rhythmic pulses that seemed to echo his heartbeat. The human smile that had frozen her before had become a bridge. Now, it was a promise, a shared understanding that they were allies, not threats. Night fell over the forest, and the glowing trees bathed the world in soft light. Eli and the team set up camp once more, careful to minimize their impact on the alien environment. Lyra stayed nearby, observing but not interfering, her presence a comfort rather than a concern. The team gathered around a small, controlled light source, sharing food, water, and stories of Earth. Lyra listened, fascinated by their voices, their gestures, and the simple acts of human life. She did not speak, but her glow pulsed in patterns that suggested curiosity, amusement, and comprehension. It was the beginning of a dialogue that would grow stronger with each passing day. Eli sat back, exhausted but exhilarated. The events of the day had been intense, full of fear and wonder, and yet filled with hope. He looked at Lyra, seeing not an alien, but a being capable of understanding and trust, capable of teaching humans lessons they had never learned before. The universe was vast and filled with unknown dangers, but it was also full of connections waiting to be made. And for the first time, He felt certain that humans could reach out and touch something extraordinary, bridging the gap between species, not with weapons or dominance, but with courage, empathy, and a simple smile. As sleep overtook him, Eli allowed his last thoughts to dwell on the small, glowing figure nearby. Lyra had stepped forward, faced fear, and chosen trust. Together, they had survived the unknown, and together, they would face whatever came next. The night was calm, the forest humming softly, and somewhere in the distance, Eli sensed more mysteries waiting to reveal themselves. But for now, there was peace, and in that peace, hope. A hope that humans, no matter how far they traveled, could always find common ground with life beyond their world. The sun rose slowly over the glowing forest, painting the sky in shades of violet and gold. Eli awoke with a sense of purpose. Yesterday had tested their patience and courage, but it had also strengthened the bond between humans and Lyra. The alien girl had remained near the camp through the night, her soft glow pulsing in gentle rhythms that seemed to mirror the team's calm breathing. She moved gracefully, stepping carefully around the humans, examining the camp without disturbing it. Eli could feel her curiosity, a subtle vibration in the air around her. It was remarkable, watching someone so different from themselves navigate a world they had never known, yet doing so with intelligence and caution. The morning was quiet at first, with only the soft hum of the forest and the occasional distant call of unknown creatures. Eli gathered the team and suggested they explore a wider area today, hoping to map the terrain and learn more about the planet's unique life forms. Lyra stepped forward, staying close to him, her glowing eyes reflecting both excitement and caution. The team followed her lead, trusting her knowledge of the alien environment. Every movement was deliberate, careful, a balance between curiosity and safety. As they moved deeper into the forest, the low hum in the air began to change. It was no longer a steady rhythm, but an irregular vibration that seemed to pulse with intensity. Eli noticed it first, sensing a shift in the atmosphere. He gestured for the team to pause and observe. Lyra's glow brightened and flickered in patterns that spoke of urgency, caution, and a subtle alarm. The humans could not yet understand the full meaning of her signals, but the tone was unmistakable. Something was approaching. Eli's mind raced. The planet had already shown that danger could appear without warning, and they had to remain alert. Suddenly, the trees ahead swayed violently, as if something immense was moving through them. Eli froze, signaling the team to stay still. Out of the glowing forest emerged a massive predator, larger than any human. Its body rippling and shifting in a way that made it almost impossible to discern its exact shape. Its eyes were deep, dark voids that seemed to absorb the light around them. The creature moved silently, but the hum in the air intensified, vibrating through the ground, resonating in the human's bones. Fear threatened to rise, but Eli focused on keeping his team calm. Lyra's presence helped. Her glow remained steady, reassuring, and she subtly guided the humans, indicating paths that would keep them partially hidden. Eli remembered the lesson of the previous day. The predator was drawn to fear. Panic would make them visible, and any aggressive move could provoke it. He motioned for the team to follow his lead, keeping slow, measured movements. Lyra stepped ahead, her glowing patterns shifting to communicate guidance. The humans instinctively understood her cues, moving as one unit through the mossy undergrowth. The predator's massive body passed within meters, yet it seemed unaware of their exact location. Eli held his breath, marveling at Lyra's ability to navigate them safely through danger. Her instincts were extraordinary, a combination of intelligence, experience, and a deep understanding of her world. Hours passed as they carefully maneuvered through the forest, avoiding detection. The predator's presence was constant, felt in every vibration, every rustle of leaves. Eli began to notice small patterns in Lyra's guidance, subtle signs in her glow that indicated safe paths, potential hiding spots, and areas where the predator might sense them. Mara whispered, "She's teaching us more than survival. She's teaching us perception." Eli nodded in agreement. The lesson went beyond simple navigation. It was about understanding the environment, adapting to it, and using observation to overcome danger. Humans had technology, yes, but this required intuition, courage, and trust. As the day progressed, they reached a narrow canyon, hidden beneath overhanging cliffs. Lyra paused at the edge, her glow forming complex patterns of circles and lines. Eli interpreted it as a signal. They would need to remain still, blend with shadows, and let the predator pass. The team positioned themselves carefully, crouching low and holding their breaths. The predator entered the canyon, its massive form twisting and rippling with uncanny grace. Eli could see its eyes scanning the area, yet it did not detect them. Time seemed to stretch. Each second a test of patience and courage. Lyra's glow pulsed steadily, sending a silent message of reassurance. They had to trust her, trust themselves, and trust that fear would not betray them. The predator moved past them, and Eli exhaled quietly, signaling the team to relax. They were safe for the moment, but the experience had left a mark. The forest seemed to hum with quiet energy, a reminder that danger could appear without warning. Eli looked at Lyra, feeling a deep respect for her intelligence and bravery. She had guided them through peril, using knowledge, intuition, and empathy. Humans had faced threats with weapons before, but this required something more: understanding, adaptability, and courage. They moved out of the canyon slowly, careful not to attract attention. Lyra led them to a small clearing where the vegetation was dense, offering cover and security. The team set up a temporary observation point, scanning the area for other signs of danger. Eli reflected on the predator's behavior. It did not attack directly. It was patient, assessing them, testing their reactions. This was not mindless aggression. It was intelligence, a predator that valued strategy over force. The lesson was clear. Survival required calm, focus, and cooperation. By late afternoon, they observed smaller creatures in the forest, moving with unusual patterns. Lyra's glow shifted in excitement, and she gestured toward them, encouraging the humans to watch. These creatures were unlike anything on Earth, their bodies transparent in parts, their movements precise and coordinated. Eli realized that the planet was not only dangerous, but also filled with remarkable life. Understanding it required more than tools. It required respect and observation. Lyra had become their teacher, guiding them to see what they might have otherwise missed. As evening approached, the team gathered near a gently flowing stream. The water shimmered with the forest's glow, reflecting the colors in soft ripples. Eli knelt and held out his hand, showing Lyra how humans drank from their own hands. She observed intently, then dipped her fingers into the water, letting it run over them. Her glowing patterns formed a series of arcs and waves, which Eli interpreted as curiosity and delight. It was a simple act, yet it reinforced the bond they were forming. Communication went beyond words or gestures. It was a shared experience, a mutual understanding built from respect and trust. Suddenly, the soft hum in the forest changed again. Eli noticed it first, a sharp, irregular vibration that sent a shiver through his spine. Lyra's glow intensified, pulsing rapidly in a pattern of warning. The predator, or perhaps another threat, was nearby. Eli quickly scanned the area. Shadows shifted between the trees, barely visible but moving with purpose. He gestured for the team to prepare, though panic was forbidden. Fear would only attract danger. Lyra stepped forward, signaling with her glow, and the team followed. Together they moved carefully, navigating the forest with precision, blending with the environment. Every step was deliberate, a test of patience and courage. The predator, or predators, appeared partially from the shadows. Their massive forms were difficult to define, but their intent was clear. They were hunters, assessing the humans and Lyra, measuring their reactions. Eli kept his expression calm, projecting courage and stability. Lyra's glow pulsed steadily, sending reassurance through subtle energy patterns. The team mirrored her composure, holding their ground while staying hidden as much as possible. It was a dance of observation, strategy, and mutual trust. Each movement mattered, each second was crucial. Hours of careful navigation followed. Eli and Lyra led the team through dense undergrowth, hidden canopies, and narrow paths, staying just out of reach of the predators. The humans began to learn from her, noticing subtle signs in the terrain, shifts in air pressure, and the faint vibrations that indicated movement. Every lesson reinforced the idea that understanding and adaptation were as powerful as any weapon. Mara whispered, "This is incredible. We're learning to survive in ways we never imagined." Eli nodded, watching Lyra's glowing patterns shift with satisfaction. She was teaching them, not just protecting them. Finally, as the light of the alien sun began to fade, they reached a high plateau overlooking a vast valley. The predators had not followed them here, and the humans had a moment to breathe. Eli looked at Lyra, gratitude and admiration in his eyes. She had guided them through danger with intelligence, empathy, and courage. Her glowing patterns shifted gently, signaling calm and reassurance. The humans had survived not because of strength alone, but because of trust, understanding, and collaboration. It was a lesson that would stay with them forever. As they set up camp on the plateau, Eli reflected on the events of the day. The predator had tested them, challenged their courage and instincts, yet they had survived. More importantly, humans and Lyra had worked together as equals, bridging the gap between species. They had learned from each other, adapting and understanding in ways that transcended words. The bond they had formed was not just one of survival, it was one of mutual respect and recognition. Humanity had faced danger before, but never in this way, where intellect, empathy, and courage mattered as much as physical skill or technology. Night fell over the valley, and the glowing forest stretched below like a sea of stars. Eli and the team gathered around a small, controlled light, sharing food and stories of Earth. Lyra observed, fascinated by their gestures and voices. She did not speak, but her glowing patterns pulsed in gentle rhythms that seemed to echo the conversation. The predator had retreated, but the lesson remained. Courage, trust, and understanding could overcome even the most dangerous challenges. Humans and Lyra had faced the unknown together, and they had learned that fear could be controlled, that wisdom could guide action, and that empathy could forge unbreakable bonds. Eli watched Lyra closely as she settled near the edge of the camp. Her glow dimmed to a soft, steady pulse, mirroring the calm of the humans around her. He realized that the predator had not only tested their survival skills, but also strengthened the connection between species. The human smile that had first frozen her now represented trust, courage, and hope. It had bridged a gap that no words could have spanned. Together, they had faced the unknown, and together they would continue to explore, learn, and grow. The night was filled with the gentle hum of the forest, a lullaby of life, danger, and connection. In that moment, Eli knew that humanity could meet the universe not with fear, but with courage, curiosity, and a willingness to understand. The morning light spilled gently over the plateau, illuminating the glowing forest below like a sea of tiny stars. Eli stood near the edge, watching the alien landscape stretch endlessly. The events of the past 2 days had tested their courage and patience, but they had also taught lessons that no simulation or study could ever replicate. Lyra was beside him, her silver-blue skin reflecting the soft sunlight, her glow calm yet vibrant. She moved gracefully, observing the humans with a mixture of curiosity and careful attention. Eli smiled at her, as he had from the very first moment they had met, and her glowing patterns pulsed in response, a silent recognition of trust and friendship. The team gathered, preparing for what Eli hoped would be the final stage of their exploration. They needed to map the valley below and study the planet's unique life forms, but the challenge ahead was clear. The Predator, or perhaps others like it, had tested them once, and it could return at any moment. Eli felt a mix of anticipation and determination. The bond between humans and Lyra was strong, and it was that bond that would guide them through whatever danger awaited. Courage, understanding, and cooperation had kept them alive so far. Now they would need all three together to see the mission through. As they descended carefully into the valley, the forest's hum shifted subtly. Eli noticed it first, a low vibration that seemed to flow through the ground and air alike. Lyra's glow changed, flickering in complex patterns that indicated alertness and caution. She moved ahead, leading them through hidden paths and dense foliage. The humans followed, trusting her instincts and guidance. Each step required attention. Each sound could signal danger. The predators had been cautious, intelligent hunters, and Eli knew they would be clever again. He kept his smile steady, projecting calm and confidence, and the team mirrored his composure. Hours passed in quiet observation. They studied small creatures, examined glowing plants, and recorded data on the planet's environment. Lyra interacted with the humans, guiding them toward areas of interest and showing them subtle cues in the forest's light and vibration. It was not only a lesson in survival, but a lesson in understanding, empathy, and perception. Eli marveled at her intelligence and patience. Humans had relied on technology and tools for millennia, but here they were learning from intuition, observation, and trust. It was a humbling, exhilarating experience. Suddenly, a shadow moved overhead. Eli froze, sensing danger before he could see it. Lyra's glow intensified, pulsing rapidly in a warning pattern. The predator, or perhaps a group of them, was near, stalking silently from the treetops. Eli signaled for the team to hold their positions. Fear would only betray them. Lyra stepped forward slightly, signaling a route to safety through subtle shifts in her glow. The humans followed her lead, moving with precision and awareness, blending with the light and shadow. Every motion mattered. The predators were intelligent, and any mistake could be costly. They reached a clearing where the terrain opened slightly, revealing the predators in full view. Two massive creatures emerged, their forms rippling and shifting in the glowing light. Their eyes were dark, absorbing all surrounding light. Yet they did not attack immediately. Instead, they observed, assessing the humans and Lyra, measuring reactions and intentions. Eli felt a surge of determination. They had survived once through understanding and courage. They could do it again. He smiled at Lyra, who returned the gesture with her glowing patterns, steadying both herself and the humans. Together, they would face this threat not with aggression, but with strategy and calm. Eli studied the predators' behavior. They were drawn to fear, reacting to panic more than action. He motioned for the team to stay calm and silent, to maintain steady breathing and slow, deliberate movements. Lyra's glow pulsed in rhythm with his heartbeat, reinforcing composure and focus. They advanced carefully, moving through the clearing in a coordinated effort. The predators followed, circling, observing, testing the humans' resolve. Eli kept his gaze forward, projecting confidence and calm. The humans mirrored him, their teamwork evident in every step. They were no longer just explorers, they were partners with Lyra, united in purpose and trust. Hours of careful maneuvering brought them to the edge of a cliff overlooking the heart of the valley. From this vantage point, the predators could not easily reach them, and the terrain offered natural defenses. Eli allowed himself a brief moment of relief, then focused on the next task, studying the planet's most significant life forms. Lyra guided them with precision, pointing out subtle movements in the foliage and changes in the forest's light patterns. The humans marveled at the complexity and intelligence of the ecosystem. It was a world unlike any they had seen, teeming with life that communicated, adapted, and thrived in ways humans could scarcely imagine. As they observed, the predators made one final test. One creature approached, moving with cautious steps, its dark eyes fixed on the humans. Eli stepped forward, keeping his movements slow and deliberate. He raised his hands in a gesture of peace, smiling gently. Lyra mirrored him, extending her hands in her unique pattern of communication. The predator paused, sensing the calm and courage of the humans. It circled once, then retreated, disappearing into the glowing forest. Eli exhaled, relief washing through him. The test had been passed. They had survived, not by force, but through understanding, courage, and the trust between humans and Lyra. The team spent the remainder of the day recording data and exploring the valley. Lyra continued to guide them, demonstrating subtle techniques for observation and movement. Each interaction strengthened their bond, reinforcing the idea that cooperation and empathy could bridge worlds. Mara recorded her observations meticulously, noting not only the environmental data, but the remarkable communication and collaboration between species. She whispered to Eli, "This changes everything. It's proof that humans can connect with life in ways we never imagined." Eli nodded, glancing at Lyra, who shimmered softly in approval. The connection was real, tangible, and profound. As night fell, the forest glowed with a soft, ethereal light. Eli and the team set up camp near a gentle stream that reflected the alien sky. Lyra settled nearby, her glow dimming to a peaceful rhythm. The humans gathered around a small, controlled fire, sharing food and stories. Lyra observed, fascinated by the sounds and movements of the humans. She did not speak, but her glowing patterns shifted in ways that expressed curiosity, amusement, and understanding. Eli reached out, holding a small painted stone in his hand, and Lyra touched it lightly. Her glow pulsed in recognition, a silent affirmation of their bond. It was a moment of connection that transcended words, a bridge built from trust, courage, and respect. The team reflected on their journey. They had faced danger, navigated the unknown, and survived through intelligence, observation, and cooperation. Eli realized that this experience exemplified humanity's greatest strengths: curiosity, empathy, and courage. They had reached across the gulf of difference to connect with a being utterly unlike themselves, and in doing so, they had grown, not only as explorers, but as individuals. Lyra's presence had taught them lessons that no technology or classroom could provide. Humans had faced threats before, but never with the kind of understanding and collaboration they had learned from her. Suddenly, a gentle hum rose from the forest, softer than before, but filled with energy. Eli and the team sensed movement, but it was not threatening. It was as if the planet itself acknowledged their achievements, recognizing the harmony between species. Lyra's glow brightened, forming intricate patterns of circles and waves. Eli understood the message. Respect, courage, and understanding had bridged worlds. The predators had tested them, the environment had challenged them, and yet they had prevailed through intelligence, patience, and empathy. It was a victory not of force, but of spirit. Eli smiled at Lyra. She stepped closer, her glowing patterns pulsing in gentle affirmation. He reached out, extending his hand. She touched it lightly, and in that simple act, the bond between humans and alien was complete. It was more than survival. It was friendship, understanding, and trust. The predator, the forest, the unknown challenges of the planet, all had been faced together. The human's smile that had first frozen her had now become a symbol of hope, courage, and connection. The night deepened, and the team settled into quiet reflection. The glowing forest hummed softly, a lullaby of life, courage, and collaboration. Eli looked at Lyra, marveling at how far they had come in such a short time. They had faced fear, adapted, and learned to communicate across species and understanding. Humanity had proven that it could reach out, not with weapons or dominance, but with empathy, courage, and curiosity. And Lyra had shown that life, no matter how different, could recognize these qualities and respond in kind. By the time sleep overtook them, Eli felt a profound sense of accomplishment. The humans had survived the unknown, faced intelligent predators, and learned from a world utterly unlike their own. They had also formed a bond with Lyra that transcended words, a bond built on trust, courage, and mutual respect. The night was calm, the forest glowing softly, and the humans and alien girl rested side by side, ready to face whatever adventures the planet would reveal next. As Eli drifted into sleep, his last thoughts were of the journey they had shared. Lyra had stepped forward, faced fear, and chosen trust. Together they had navigated danger, learned from each other, and built a connection that could change the way humans viewed life beyond Earth. The universe was vast, filled with unknown challenges and endless mysteries. But with courage, curiosity, and empathy, humans could meet the unknown not with fear, but with hope, understanding, and the willingness to step forward, just as Lyra had, guided by the simple, enduring power of a human smile.